beautiful ladies. Welcome back to Financial Flourish. We're rewriting the money stories we've been handed down and stepping into freedom, confidence, and clarity over our finances. I'm your host, Michelle, a CPA, money mindset educator, and your guide through this powerful money mindset reboot series. Today, we're having a necessary conversation: toxic money messages from childhood and how to heal them. We all have money memories from growing up, some loud, some subtle. Maybe you remember hearing, "We can't afford that," or feeling tension every time a bill came in. Maybe you saw overspending or a complete avoidance of money talk. Whatever the story, it shaped you. And today we're unpacking those money stories with our amazing returning guest, Dr. Kelly Singletary, who's a board certified psychiatrist and specialized in trauma, emotional healing, and identity transformation. Welcome back, Kelly. Please introduce yourself to our audience for the benefit of those who are listening for the first time.
Thank you, Michelle. I'm Dr. Kelly Singletary. I am an adult board certified general psychiatrist, and I specialize in trauma, emotional healing, as well as have an emphasis on lifestyle medicine in our practice. And I'm very happy to join you and your audience again today.
Thank you, Kelly. So last week, when I spoke to your partner, Dr. Monique Upton, she spoke about the scarcity mindset and mentioned that some of these stem from our childhood. What do we mean when you say money messages from childhood?
Great question, Michelle. Money messages are those unspoken rules, verbal phrases, and emotional experiences around money that we tend to kind of pick up, usually without realizing. And we pick these up from our caregivers, within our cultures, or even just within the environment that we move in from day to day. These form what we call core money beliefs. For example, hearing we can't afford that every time you ask for something when you were younger can instill that scarcity mindset that you talked about last week. Or being told, don't talk about money, it's rude, may lead to shame and secrecy around finances and adulthood. And this is something that I'm familiar with. And for women, this can create a barrier to really kind of understanding your financial value when it comes to negotiating contract or salaries for yourself.
Yeah. Yes, that's very important.
Yes. And then here's something that's fascinating from neurobiology. According to a researcher, Dr. Bruce Perry, who's an American psychiatrist and neuroscientist who's known for his research on the impact of early childhood experiences on brain development, our brains develop core emotional responses before we develop logical reasoning. So by the age of 7, we've already internalized emotional patterns around safety and scarcity and shame, including around money.
Wow. So, what I'm hearing you say is that what we tell our children about, and some of it is true. So, what makes it toxic then?
Well, they're toxic because they limit your financial freedom. They sometimes create shame and they also can sabotage abundance. They can come from what was said directly, what was modeled to us, or what was missing. For example, a child might not be told that money is evil directly, but if they grow up watching constant arguments around bills, and money, then they may start to associate money with stress and conflict.
Oh, action speaks louder than words. So, so what you're saying then, we need to change our messaging as parents, because you said that by the age of 7, we've already internalized emotional patterns around safety, scarcity, and shame, including around money. It sounds to me like we need a separate episode for parents with young children, or even the ones who do not have children, so that we can, break this cycle.
That's not a bad idea, Michelle. We have to first acknowledge that these patterns exist and then learn ways to break those cycles. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So you also spoke about core beliefs. What are these?
Well, so core money beliefs, and they're sometimes called money script. are fundamental attitudes and beliefs about money that in turn influence our financial behavior and decision making. So I can break those down into four categories for the audience. And I want you all to kind of follow along and go through them with us, and try to determine which category you might fall under. And it may be more than one. So the first one is money avoidance. This belief involves having a negative attitude towards money, viewing it as a source of stress, anxiety, and something to be avoided. Individuals with this particular belief may struggle with budgeting, saving, and making financial decisions because they're sort of avoiding it. They're putting it to the side, not making it a priority.
Wow. So this we have gone through in one of our episodes. We see individuals who do not want to open their bills, they don't want to look at their bank accounts because they
Mm-hmm,
just don't want to know.
mm-hmm,
Now, the interesting thing here is that these are not always people who do not have money. Some of these
mm-hmm.
people do have money, but they still avoid anything to do with their finances. So it's not always about scarcity.
Very true. Very true. Another area is money worship. So, this belief equates money with happiness, safety, and success. We've talked about this before as well. Individuals with this belief may be driven by a desire for wealth and status, potentially leading to excessive spending or risk taking behavior with money.
Yeah, so I see this one. I see this one a lot where some
Mhm,
people will do anything to increase their wealth.
mhm.
And as people of faith, this is where the Bible speaks of the love of money being the root of all evil.
Yes.
And yep, and it's because as a worshiper of money, we think that we need to do whatever is necessary to increase our relationship with it.
Mhm,
And as you
mhm.
said, it leads to extensive spending or risk-taking behavior.
Right. Very true. Very true. And that sort of leads into the next category, which is money status. This belief links self worth and social standing to wealth and financial possessions. So, individuals with this belief may feel the need to project an image of financial success, even if it's not genuine. This can also be projected onto you by others who assume that you have a certain level of financial wealth based on your profession. And then you feel that need to live up to that standard.
I'm sure you're hitting the nail right on the head. And I'm pretty sure you as a doctor, I can see that you probably have run into this yourself. I've had people say to me, someone like you needs to drive this car or that
Right?
car because, they perceive what your social standing should be. And
Exactly. Hmm.
one of the reasons why we get ourselves in trouble is that those people don't know our financial goals. And so we get pressured into thinking, I think they're right. And we get ourselves into problems. But what's our financial goal? So it's important for you to understand that it doesn't matter the pressure that you're getting from outside. Make sure that whatever you do aligns with your financial goals.
Exactly. Exactly. And you can't build wealth if you spend it all.
Exactly. I read this book, The Psychology of Money, and the author talked about a famous person who was running into financial problems, and he said that when the lady was wanted to sue the financial planner, and the financial
Mm,
planner said to her, if you take the money that you have and buy stuff, in the end, you'll end up with stuff and no money. Like, who had to tell you this? And
right.
I think
Right.
sometimes we fall in that category. We want to buy
Hmm.
wealth, but we're buying things that do not bring us wealth. It just bring us perceived status.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's exactly what I was saying there. And then that the last category is money vigilance. So this belief emphasizes saving, financial security, and being cautious with money. While being financially responsible is positive, Individuals with this belief may experience excessive anxiety and worry about money, potentially leading to hoarding or a fear of spending. So it's kind of that the total opposite of, the last one.
Yes, yeah. So that's the other extreme. So this shows the importance of balance
Yes.
because yes, you can be vigilant with your money, but not to the extreme where you're not even living a decent lifestyle. You're
Hmm.
hoarding your money. And then so often you hear someone dies and the beneficiary of their funds, they just spend it recklessly. And sometimes you're even surprised that that person had that much money because of the way that they live. So, thank you. Thank
Exactly.
you for pointing out these issues. We've gone through some of them myself. I've seen them played out in my life and I've seen them played out in other people's life. So thank you so
Hmm.
much for those points.
Absolutely. Hmm.
So what are some real life common money messages our listeners might recognize from their own childhood?
Fortunately, I'm sure there are many, right? But we'll look at a few of them that kind of come to mind. Ladies, let us know if you recognize any of these. So here are a few. We can't afford it, repeat it frequently, even for the basic things. Praise for suffering. She works 3 jobs and never asks for help.
That's an
My
interesting one, right?
Yes, right, right. And there's that superwoman cape coming back on, or
Yes.
wearing that suffering as a badge of honor, right? Shame around asking questions about money. um just as we were kind of talking before, not really talking about money or how much one makes or how much one should make, in a certain area. So having shame around even asking questions related
Yes.
to money, because you feel like,
Yes.
oh, maybe I should already know that. So the celebration of spending, but silence around saving. It's great to save, it's great to put money away, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Also growing up in chaos, financial instability, or emotional inconsistency around money creates insecurity. So even if you were told you'd always be provided for, the feeling of instability still sticks.
Wow, yes. And even privilege can carry shame. I've had clients who say, I have everything paid for, but now I feel paralyzed about managing money because I never had to learn how to manage money. And
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
sometimes is one of the areas that we don't concentrate on enough. We mostly look at lack and not, people with privilege and have money. So there's
Ex-
money shame there.
exactly. Yeah, exactly, exactly. The message isn't always lack. Sometimes it's emotional avoidance or entitlement. Both are disempowering in adulthood.
Wow. So let's connect the dots now. So, how do these early messages show up in our adult financial lives?
Well, they can show up in many ways. They can show up as chronic under earning or underpricing ourselves, which goes back to what I said earlier about understanding your financial value, avoiding financial planning or budgeting, because you're not asking those questions, guilt about financial success.
Hmm.
So when you're doing well, there's maybe sometimes an imposter kind of syndrome there,
Yes,
or
yes,
just when others may not have that same success, just having guilt around it. Fear of ownership, investing, or growing wealth. So sometimes people are scared to own a home, or
yes,
have that ownership. They don't feel like they are worthy of it, or that they have the financial means to do so. um
yes. And I
mhm,
think sometimes it's lack of knowledge because I
mhm.
remember many years ago, I was talking to a friend about, buying a home. And she told me, no, I'm not going to buy a home because the property taxes is high. And I can guarantee you, she did not even know how much property tax was, but she was saying this. So I think that came out of fear.
And sometimes that can come from those money messages. You've heard people say, "Oh, property taxes are high," or this or that, but they don't necessarily talk about the financial reward of investment. Sort of what you can
Yes.
get back from that. So yeah, yeah, that kind of ties that all in. Um,
Yes.
Overgiving or not setting financial boundaries. That's that's a scary thing.
We spoke about that last week actually about
Mhm,
guilt giving, not setting your financial boundaries, lending out of what you have from your princess cushion. So yeah, I see that one.
mhm, mhm. And emotionally. So those money messages can manifest as anxiety around money, people pleasing with money, or even the belief that you're not good enough to be financially secure.
Wow. So I've absolutely seen this in some of my clients. I have one woman in particular. She always pay the bills for her children, even though she cannot pay her own bills. So it's a strain on
Mhm,
her. And it's women that I see doing this a lot, and for
mhm.
them that's what love looks like, unfortunately.
Mm, mm. Well, and so that's generational loyalty at work. But love doesn't mean enabling, right? And I have four adult children now, right?
Hmm.
It can mean empowering. So the
Yes,
true power is in learning how to build wealth and passing that knowledge on to your children and teaching them to build and maintain their own wealth.
yes, yes.
So helping people out doesn't necessarily mean doing it for them or taking care of it for
Correct.
them. Sometimes it means teaching them how to do it for themselves.
Yes, it's that proverb about teaching someone how to fish or giving them a fish,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
Yes,
That's exactly
yes,
it. Absolutely.
yes, yes. Let's talk about healing. What are some steps our listeners can take to begin rewriting these toxic narratives with compassion?
Mm. So pull out your journals, we have to start by identifying the message.
Yes.
Those core beliefs, those money messages that you received along the way, good or bad, right? Write it down. Think about where it came from,
Hmm.
right? Write that down as well. Then respond to it from your adult self. So think about those things because a lot of these things have come to us through our childhood experiences or,
Yes.
younger selves. And so now think about it from the perspective of an adult of where you are in life now and what you've
Hmm.
known, what you've experienced, what you've seen or learned from other people. So respond to this message from your adult self. For example, if the message was we never have enough, you might look at that from the perspective of where you are now and say, well, I am safe now. I'm actively learning to manage my resources with wisdom.
Yes. Yes.
So you can reparent your inner child, so to speak. But remember to speak to her gently, offer her what she didn't receive, assurance, safety, and clarity.
Kelly, that is so powerful. I tell my clients to speak to themselves with
Mhm.
kindness,
Yes.
the same kindness you give your child or your friend, because, as women, we beat upon ourselves too much and we treat others better than we treat ourselves.
Mhm.
So, I think that's really good advice that you're giving to them.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope it's helpful. Hmm.
Yes. So, as we close, give our audience some practical tools for healing, please.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So, write a letter to your younger self. Validate what she saw and what she felt. Validate those things. And let her know it's going to be okay because you're learning how to move forward, how to move past some of those negative messages or negative core beliefs. Two, journal new affirmations. So, money is a tool and not a threat.
Yes. And
Something.
affirmations, we talk about a lot of affirmations, and you
Mhm.
can emphasize the importance of that to the audience.
Okay, okay. We speak a lot about affirmations, and they are so important because we've talked about receiving these messages, these maybe negative messages at times. But an affirmation is a positive message. It's a way of turning those negative or harmful thoughts and emotions into more positive thoughts, helping to kind of change the trajectory
Yeah.
of your thinking, your emotions, and your behaviors.
Yes.
Mhm. We can also look at, just kind of reflect on what kind of relationship you want to model for the next generation. So think about, you think about the things that you didn't have, or what maybe you could have done differently. And then start to model that for your kids or your nieces and nephews or the people who are looking up to you moving forward.
Yes. Part of breaking the cycle.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And lastly, you can create safety routines. So have weekly money dates where you specify a time that you're going to sit down and you're going to, really kind of think about what you've done with your money over the last week and setting goals, moving forward. Prayer before spending, even on the little things. Thinking about, is this something that I need? Is this something that God wants me to have? Am I walking the path that I'm supposed to in this time?
Yes. And sometimes is it something that I need now? You might need it, but
Mm-hmm.
not right now. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what are my motives behind, making this purchase?
Yes.
And then checking your balance without judgment, but checking it to make sure to know where you are.
Yes. Yes.
you know.
And give grace to ourselves. Give grace to
Yes,
ourselves. Yes.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes. So, Kelly, thank you so much for being here, for
Yes.
allowing us to get this information that is so needed and so necessary in terms of our money. A lot of times we don't think about the childhood messages that
Mm-hmm.
we received, but they're playing a very impactful role on how our adult financial life is.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, ladies, today was healing. At least for me, it was.
Me as well.
Yes. Whether you grew up in lack, in silence, or in stress, or even in plenty, you don't have to be stuck. You can heal, you can grow, and you can prosper. So I encourage you to grab your free season 2 workbooks and start transforming those childhood messages today. We want to thank again Dr. Kelly Singletary for her insightful information and the tools that you can use to help in the healing process as you change to a healthy money mindset. You can connect with Kelly on Instagram at upsingtelepsych, and also you can check out their website at upsingtelepsychiatry.com. And you can also connect with us on Instagram at underscore financial flourish and subscribe to the podcast Financial Flourish on Spotify. Now, some persons have been saying, and I've said this a couple of weeks, that they're not getting notification. So just make sure that you subscribe so that you're kept up to date with what's going on. And also be sure to take advantage of the free resources that we have. We have the Money Mindset Self Guide Check, we have the budget template, and we also have season 2 Money Mindset Reboot Workbook. So please go ahead and take advantage of that. We look forward to hearing from you, and leave us a message on social media. We're looking forward to getting those messages from you. So, ladies, until next week, remember that you are not your parents' money story. You are not the messages you heard as a child. You're a mature woman who can make your own money story. So let's get started and make one more step toward your financial goal. And don't forget to flourish.